Good afternoon. Okay, I realized in the chat I said we'd start promptly at noon, but 12:03. So we are going to fly through 57 amazing minutes with Hillary, the director of Pitt Global Experiences Office, to talk a little bit about your potential students' global experiences. What does that mean for our Pitt families? How can they best support? What services will your office provide? What can they expect? What can students expect? What are all those amazing opportunities out there? The Q&A is open. Hillary might answer the questions you have along the way, but if you want to go ahead and start putting them in the Q&A, we can make sure we get to those in now 56 minutes together. So I will be quiet and turn it over to you, Hillary.
Thank you so much, Summer. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Hillary Kohler, and I'm the director of the Global Experiences Office here at the University of Pittsburgh. Really excited to speak to you all today about global experiences at Pitt and some of the things that our office does and how we can work together to support students and having these wonderful opportunities while they are students here at the university. I'm going to just give you all a quick overview of what we're going to cover today, and we'll jump right in just so we can make sure we can get to questions. And please feel free to use the Q&A. We will answer your questions live, but please feel free as you think of them to drop those in, and we will answer those as we begin to work through our time here together today. I'm going to start with a quick overview of the Global Experiences Office, who we are, what we do here, and why we do it. I will also walk us through an overview of the different types of global experiences programs that we offer and things like scholarships and financial aid, application requirements and general timeline, just to give you a sense of some of the things that we're advising students as they engage with our office. And then most importantly, I'll round out our conversation here today with preparing and supporting your student. So if your student is interested in participating in a global experiences program, what are some of the resources that we can share with you to help you support your student through the process and to work together on our goal of every Pitt student having an international global experience while they're here at Pitt. So about our team, we have quite a large team, over 25 full-time staff here at the university that are working on global experiences. One of the unique things about our office is that we are spread across campus. We have 5 current locations. We have embedded offices within a number of our undergraduate schools here at the university, including the Dietrich School of Arts and Sciences and College of General Studies, the College of Business Administration, the Frederick Honors College, the Swanson School of Engineering, and the School of Nursing. And then, of course, we have our geo administration team. I sort of sit at the top of our organization and work directly with our embedded school offices as well as other units and schools across campus to provide support for global experiences programming. All of our staff and our student workers that kind of help make all of this run have global experience. And so we have a wealth of knowledge and experience across our professional staff as well as our students. And we really like this model because it allows us to create academic programming that is very specific to each individual student's needs. And so that's everything from, very program specific academic content for engineering students, for nursing students, including, general education requirements and all of these kinds of things. So I'll talk a little bit more about the academic components of our program there. But this model really allows for us to be able to provide that kind of support to students to ensure that they're having not only a wonderful experience professionally and personally, but that academically the content is very relevant to what they're studying here at the university. I mentioned earlier, but our goal, lofty as it is that every student at the University of Pittsburgh has the opportunity to have a global experience. And so that would include very diverse types of experiences and engagement. So I'll speak about that here shortly. So what we do as an office is provide opportunities on campus, off campus, and abroad that allow students to engage directly in global environments. And so it's important to note that a global experience does not necessarily require you to get on an airplane and fly to another country. We offer campus-based engagement. We offer domestic, what we call study away programs, all of which have a global focus and are designed to help students expand their global learning and their global mindset as a Pitt student. We do this by broadening and supporting academic interest areas through specialized programming with a focus on experiential learning. And so this allows students to develop technical skills by taking courses in their academic subject areas, but also to participate in global experiential learning that helps develop transferable skills that they'll use later in life. And we also support students in academic, professional, and personal development through these experiences with intentional preparation and reflection before, during, and after their experience. And we'll spend a lot of time today talking about preparation. I think for parents and families, that's a lot of where that initial conversation and support of the student comes into play. But do know that we engage with students throughout the entirety of their global experience before, during, and after. We offer a variety of programs. We obviously won't talk about all of these today. We would need much longer than the 50 minutes that we likely have left. But we do offer upwards of 300 programs in many, many countries around the world. I'll talk in a moment about our different types of programs, just so you have an understanding of what these things look like. But we also include, as I mentioned, domestic programs, what we call study away programs, and campus-based programs as part of our portfolio of options to provide a more diverse opportunity for students to engage in global experiences. It's not uncommon for students to participate in multiple iterations of a global program during their time as a student here. Why do we do it? So we know that students who study abroad or have global experiences have higher graduation rates. We also know that students who have these experiences tend to have higher GPAs. And in terms of surveys that go out nationally to employers that are hiring students as they're coming out of university settings, 58% of employers in the US state that intercultural skills of their employees are important to organizational success. And we know that students develop these in a very deep way while participating on global experiences programs. So these are, sort of some of the guiding principles of why we do this work here in our office. And this is the ethos that's reflected in our types of programs and the program development that we have for our students. Just to give you a sense, we have had students from every school on campus study abroad. We have over 110 majors represented in our study abroad numbers historically. We have students studying international certificates, receiving global distinctions, and all of this is aided and supported by their participation in global experiences. All right, I'm going to pause there. That is our quick overview, and I'm going to check really briefly and Summer if there's anything in terms of questions in the chat that you'd like me to answer now. I can also take a peek at that as well.
There is a question in the chat. I have a feeling you might get to this, but I'll share it now.
Sure.
The question is, I haven't seen the cost anywhere for the summer global experiences.
Mhm.
When will that cost be provided?
Sure. Yeah, I will be talking briefly about that. And so just in general, and we'll share some links here to direct to our web pages. Every program has a program page that details things like costs, the courses that are offered on the program, and so on and so forth. We will have our summer pricing posted prior to the Thanksgiving break. So still working on some details there, but pricing will be provided well in advance of students needing to apply, and certainly well in advance of students needing to commit to the programs.
It's the only
Right.
question in the Q&A right now.
Super. Great. We'll continue on then. I'm going to give a quick overview of the types of programs that we offer, just to give you all a sense of the different ways that students can engage in global programming. So we have, first and foremost, what tends to be the type of program that the vast majority of our students will participate on, and that is our Panther programs and our partner programs. These are programs that are designed by the Global Experiences Office for Pitt students. Students will be led typically by Pitt faculty who will also be instructing courses on the program. In this type of program opportunity, students will earn Pitt credits and letter grades on the programs. Students are also billed and pay the University of Pittsburgh directly. And the program price, as we were just discussing, that will be detailed on each individual program's page, will include tuition and a program fee that will include things like housing, international medical insurance, student services support, and all of those types of things. Each program page will also detail what is included and excluded in the cost. So for example, some programs may include the cost of flight, some may not. That will be detailed specifically on each individual program's webpage. Panther and partner programs are offered during the semesters and the summer term as well. So there's a lot of flexibility here in terms of the terms that they're offered, the length of time that these programs are offered, and it makes it a good and customizable fit for students to be able to integrate that into their larger academic experience. We also have a variety of exchange programs. These are direct partnerships with some of the best universities in the world. And the opportunity here is for a student to essentially be an international student at a partner institution abroad. They're able to select from university-wide coursework that is available to students participating on these programs. They earn transfer credit to the university as a part of this program, so that's a little bit different than what happens with our Panther programs. And so that is generally brought back into Pitt as transfer credit with satisfactory no credit grade scale. Students will pay their Pitt tuition directly to the university, just like they would pay for, a semester on campus here. And then any sort of expenses related to housing and things like that are paid by the student directly to, the overseas vendors. But the tuition piece is paid directly to the University of Pittsburgh. And these are typically offered during the fall and spring semester or for full academic year. And then finally, kind of our third bucket of programming is our Pitt recognized programs. These are facilitated by third-party organizations that have been vetted to ensure that they meet Pitt standards for academics, health, safety, and security. We have a very small list of third-party provider organizations that we work with for this reason. We want to make sure that they are meeting all of our requirements there. Students do have opportunities if they find a program that's not on the pre-approved University of Pittsburgh list to petition that in, provided that it meets academic standards and then also passes through review of health, safety, and security. Similarly to our exchange programs, students will receive transfer credits on Pitt recognized programs. A big distinction here to be aware of is that tuition and fees for the programs are paid directly to the program provider. Nothing is billed through the University of Pittsburgh in terms of tuition and program fees. And these are also offered during fall and spring semesters and also the summer term as well. So there's some flexibility here. In general, for all of our programs, the academic experience is the guiding, factor here. All global experiences are for academic credit. Programs are designed to be academically rigorous, so we always advise students that they should anticipate a similar level of rigor as they have on campus when they're taking courses here. And courses can and should fulfill degree requirements for students. This can be things like general education requirements, major, minor, and certificate requirements, and then also in some cases, capstone experiences that are part of an academic major or program. So all of this to say that we work very closely with schools and advisors to ensure that students understand how the courses will, count towards their degree progress and what sorts of requirements they will fulfill. In addition to the academic pieces, also very important are things like experiential learning. We provide a lot of support to programs that allow for us to embed professional development opportunities into the goals and objectives of the courses. These would be things like internship experiences as part of a study abroad program, research, whether that be independent or guided research opportunities, consulting and service learning project-based opportunities, and then in, for example, some of the health sciences, shadowing opportunities to give students exposure to those types of environments. This is a really important part of the work that we do. We really believe that the learning that happens on our global experiences programs is both inside the classroom, but also in situation. And so we want to provide students with the opportunity to have that direct application of what they're learning in the classroom to the real world. And then finally, it's really important as well that we guide and support students in terms of integrating professional and personal skills throughout their experience. And so we find that we have a lot of conversation with students on those transferable skills that are so important to whatever their next step, whether that be graduate school or full-time employment, but thinking about how the global experience will allow for them to develop skills like flexibility, self-efficacy and self-reliance, global awareness, interpersonal communication, and things like this. Problem-solving skills, language skills, and there's many more that stem from that as well. I'm going to talk briefly then about some financial aid, scholarships, and these types of things. So we do work directly with the Financial Aid Wellness Center and students to assist with utilization of existing aid. In most cases, existing aid packages can be used for study abroad and study away programs. And we work with the office to ensure that students are able to utilize that seamlessly and provide support that way. In addition, we do advise students and offer a number of scholarship opportunities to help offset the cost of Global Experiences programming. To date, the Global Experiences Office alone has awarded well over $500,000 in scholarship funding for students. There are also a number of university funding opportunities that are available for students to apply for via Pitt Funds Me, There's, school level awards, university level awards, and so on and so forth. We also advise on national scholarship opportunities. So there's quite a few of them that are available to provide funding support for international and global experiences that we assist students in applying for. And then also a number of our partners abroad offer scholarship opportunities as well. And so really the advice here is to cast a wide net. It is very possible to, significantly contribute towards, covering the costs of a program through these various means. The last part of this section, and then I'll pause again for any questions, is really focused on application requirements and timeline, just to give you a general sense of what this looks like. Students are required to apply and be accepted into programs, typically the semester prior to the experience. So to give you an example, right now we are in the process of advertising and recruiting for summer programs. The application deadline for most of our summer programs is, the third week of January, and then students would be accepted and admitted into programs in mid-February. And so, they would be working on, program-related requirements to a degree during the spring semester in preparation for, their global experience happening in May and June. So that's generally the case across, all of our program application deadlines. So for example, if we're thinking about fall, students need to apply, late in the spring semester, and we work with them, into the early part of the summer on preparation for their program in the fall semester, as an example. And then just in general, application requirements include things like a minimum GPA requirement, university-wide 2.75. Some programs may have higher ones. We also check for clear disciplinary record on campus, and that students are enrolled as degree-seeking students at the University of Pittsburgh, as an example. Some programs may have additional requirements. For example, a language-based program may have, specific course requirements and so on and so forth. As was the case when we talked about the financial aspects of each individual program, each program page details what the requirements for that program would be. All right, I will pause here and see if there are any additional questions that I can answer live about our program types, or I'm assuming some of the financial aid and scholarship questions may come now.
Yes, we have seven. Oh, the number of questions is just rising as I unmute and look at them. So we've got quite a number. I have flagged them all for you to answer live as you
Sure.
see fit. But if you want to pull it up, or we can start at the top, you let me know. I'm happy to read them. There
No,
might
I
be a couple that we can sort
certainly-
of condense together.
Sure. All right, so I'll just start at the top. And I think, we'll just answer them live because I think we have the time, and I really designed this to be very interactive in terms of questions. So bear with me all, but the first question I see here is about a timeline for summer study abroad. So I really briefly, kind of walked through that in my slide just previously, but just to kind of give a little bit more detail on that. And in general, again, some programs may have a little bit different of a timeline, but our general timeline for summer is application deadline January 21st, at which point our team will work to review applications, and students will simultaneously be engaged in a couple of processes that are required, including a program agreement meeting that will happen end of January into early February. Students will then be accepted into the programs in the second week of February, and then they have 10 days or so to fully commit to the program at that point in time. So by the end of February, we have students accepted and committed into the programs, at which point we will then switch gears into preparations for the programs themselves. That may include things like applying for a visa, attending required orientation meetings, and really engaging directly with partners on the ground in preparation for the program. So that's the general timeline for summer. And generally speaking, I will also mention we encourage students as they're thinking about applying for scholarships to double check deadlines there. Some scholarships have similar deadlines to the program application deadlines. Some have very different ones. And so that's something else that I would like to mention, as you're talking to your students who may be interested in doing this, to ensure that they're taking a look at Pitt Funds Me and double checking deadlines for those types of scholarships as well. So that's our general summer timeline. And then most of our programs depart at some point during the month of May, whether that's early May, mid-May. And so all of that preparation work is happening, from the end of February until, the end of the spring term. There's a question here about study abroad programs specifically for students in the honors program. Yes, we actually have an embedded office in the Frederick Honors College. Happy to drop a link here at the end of our conversation to some resources there. But there are programs specific to students in the Frederick Honors College, as well as specific advising. So an FHC student is certainly welcome and encouraged to participate in any of the programs that are offered through the Global Experiences Office, but there are some dedicated ones that are specific to the Frederick Honors College as well. And their advising team is there to advise and support students on how those programs will fulfill the honors specific academic requirements as well. So a question here about transfer credit versus University of Pittsburgh credit. So for things like our Panther programs, those programs are University of Pittsburgh academic courses. The transcript is a University of Pittsburgh transcript. Students receive letter grades, and it's essentially like taking a class here on campus. For some of our other programs, they are transfer credits, meaning they do not count towards GPA. They are transferred back in, much like if a student were to take a course over the summer at a community college and transfer that back to the University of Pittsburgh. So if anyone's familiar with that process, that's what that would look like. So that's the real distinction there, is sort of the credit being Pitt credit or transfer credit, and then letter grade versus the satisfactory no credit. All right. So in terms of, program specific questions, my biggest advice is to send students directly to our advising teams, and we will spend a lot of time working with students to help them identify the programs that are, most beneficial or desired for each individual student. As you can imagine, these students much better than I do. There's many different ways that people and students can look and choose a program, look at and choose a program based on academic requirements, or if there's a language specific thing that they're looking to do, that may be a motivator. For some students, cost is really a very important part of the conversation. And so we look at programs based on, where there may be additional scholarship opportunities or where the cost of living would not preclude them from participating, as an example. And so really that's what is a good initial start in terms of advising. So in terms of determining, do I want to do a Panther program versus, do I want to do an exchange? It's really dependent on things like what types of courses that students are looking to fulfill, what sorts of experiences are students looking to have. So for example, if a student is really interested in an internship placement, we typically don't offer those through exchange programs. So that would be, an indicator that perhaps one of the other types of programs would be, a better fit based on the goals of the student. Our goal is to help students identify the best program that's the best fit for them. And that can mean a lot of different things. And so that advising process becomes really crucial as part of that. Great question here about, when in a student's academic career, do we typically find study abroad or global experiences happening? I would say in general, there's a couple different points in time where this tends to happen. For our semester-long programs, we typically see students second semester of their second year, so that spring term of their second year, fall term of their third year, spring term of their third year. That tends to be that range when we see a lot of students participating in semester-long programs. We would see something similar in our summer programs. So I would say probably our most sort of quote unquote popular time that we see students doing our global experiences programs in the summer would be the summer after their second year. Although I will also mention that we have a number of really great first year program opportunities in a number of partnerships with schools across campus. So we have first year programs for students in the Dietrich School of Arts and Sciences and College of General Studies that takes place directly after their first full year here at the university. So that May timeframe, right after the end of their first year. We also have the +3 program, which is a program that's offered in partnership with the School of Nursing, School of Engineering, College of Business Administration, and some of our regional campus partners. Same kind of situation, that May program right after their first year. So that's also another really popular time for students to do a short-term program. Those are typically about 2 weeks long. And that happens, pretty much immediately after the first year. So those are our general timeframes. To kind of piggyback on that question, it is possible for students to do a study abroad or global experience later on in their academic career. We do have students, for example, that will choose to do this in their final year of studies. One thing I will mention is, oftentimes we don't have any control over receiving transcripts from institutions abroad, for example. So that's just something to consider when thinking about timing, and most likely why we tend to see students in their second and third year being, the primary time that they choose to take advantage of these experiences. One other thing I will mention, and something that we, certainly advise our students on as we talk to them, but is also helpful coming from multiple different sources, is to really work directly with each individual student's academic advisor. So a lot of times we'll get questions, when is it too early to start planning? The answer is it's not. So we have a lot of first year students that come in and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, my third year. When should I start planning this? It's always good to start talking to, the academic advisor early to think about the types of courses that would be fulfilled on a global experiences program, for example. And so I'll speak for us, but also for the academic advising teams that we work with. That conversation is so helpful to have early on in the academic career. And so I would really encourage students to bring that up in their advising appointments as they're starting to have those in the next several weeks or month. Question about programs being competitive and sort of the application process. Some of our programs can be very competitive. It is a good idea in general to think of a second program. Students are able to apply off the bat to 2 programs at the same time. And if there's an need for an additional program application to happen, we can facilitate that as well. I always recommend that students do that. A lot of our summer programs, there are sort of space capacity limits, and so it's always good to kind of be thinking about that. We do have our program managers, let students know for those particularly competitive programs, to think about a secondary option. Students have the ability within our application system to rank their applications, so we will always, know what their first choice would be. But it's not a bad idea, and that's something that is discussed in advising appointments based on a program by program level. So it really depends on program, but it is always good to think about, an additional option in case, someone were to change their mind or something ends up working out better down the road. And that's very fair to do. So a couple questions about aid here. In general, scholarships and grants that are part of a current aid package can be applied to global experiences programs. Each individual aid package, as you well know, is very different. So we will work directly with the Office of Financial Aid to support students there. We also host throughout the semesters information sessions for students with the Office of Financial Aid, and have direct contacts there that can answer very specific questions about aid packages. But generally speaking, aid that is received by a student currently can be used for programs. It can be used in spring semester, fall semester, or summer semester, depending on utilization and sort of the requirements of each individual aid package. But you certainly can use financial aid for summer programs in addition to the semester-long program. So it's not preclude one or the other as far as that would go. Again, it depends on each individual aid package. Some, grants and scholarships are only able to be applied for full semester versus summer, while some can be applied, more broadly. And so that's where we defer to the Office of Financial Aid to provide that specific information to each individual student and family as they're planning the study abroad process. So in general, I have a question here as well about our application timeline, recruitment timeline, beyond kind of what we talked about for summer. So let's say we have a student who is thinking about next academic year already, which I love. That's fantastic. Our application cycle for next academic year will open the first week of classes. So August 2025 for spring and summer 2026 programs. So we're always sort of operating at least at a semester ahead of when the programs would depart. And so for next academic year, what we advise students at this particular moment is start to think about the types of programs that you're interested in, talk to your academic advisor about the different courses and what you could fulfill on these programs, come meet with us, and we're available to speak very specifically about different program requirements, or more generally, we do have walk-in advising here for students who are really at the sort of initial phases of exploring programs and thinking about those kinds of things. And then be prepared for applications opening in August of 2025 for next academic year. So typically we have the August opening date for our spring semester and summer programs, spring break as well. And then later in the fall semester, November for fall of the following year's programs. And that's all detailed on our website as well. Summer is absolutely the time that we see most of our students doing the global experiences. And, that's not to say that, spring is also a very popular time for us, but in general, summer programming allows for students to have the experience, fulfill those requirements, and still, in a lot of cases, would allow them opportunities for summer employment, internships, if they wanted to take additional Pitt courses, after an experience. A lot of our summer programs, are 4 to 6 weeks, and so allow for that greater level of flexibility for students. So we do tend to see the majority of our students studying abroad in the summer, although the spring is also a very popular time for students to study abroad, for those that are looking for a full semester experience. All right, so I have a question here about internships and programs for credits. So just to clarify, for students doing experiential learning on global experiences programs, those are also for academic credit. So if a student's doing an internship, they will also receive academic credit for that experience for a number of reasons. That's what we do here across the board. This can be integrated as part of a semester-long experience. Students can pair that with academic courses and their major general education requirements, but the internship experience is, additive, and they would also receive academic, credit for that experience. So it's very similar to taking just purely academic courses abroad, and that there is that academic piece. Where we typically see, the difference would be, of course, the actual work experience itself. So I'll use an example of a student maybe studying in London on a spring semester program that's chosen to do an internship. That would be one of their academic courses. Perhaps they've chosen 3 other academic courses, and then they spend 20 hours a week doing the actual internship work in addition to the wraparound coursework for the internship. So I hope that explains things. And then students work, directly with their department academic advisors to determine how, those credits may fulfill requirements towards their degree progress as well. All right. I think I answered a lot of these questions. Let me scroll down. I see a few more coming in here. So I have a question here about summer programs. I know we talked briefly before about the program pricing being released. Similarly, dates are being updated as well, and so you can expect to see confirmation of dates within the next several weeks to know when those programs will be planned. We do strongly recommend, of course, that no travel plans are made. Number one, until students are fully accepted into programs, and number two, until students have the go-ahead to book their travel as part of the program as well. But dates, if they're not currently updated, are in the process of being updated for summer programs within the next several weeks as well. So I have a couple other questions here that are specific to different academic areas and interest areas as well. So a lot of our programs, in terms of sort of interdisciplinary work, cross-disciplinary work, are already there. I mentioned briefly before, but just to reiterate, if a student has an academic interest that is not already represented in our program portfolio, they would have an opportunity to petition that in for review and acceptance. And so it is possible that students can participate on programs for strong academic reasons that meet health, safety, and security standards and requirements if they should so choose. And in a lot of cases, our Panther programs are interdisciplinary in nature. So while a program may be managed out of the College of Business Administration or the School of Nursing or the School of Engineering, they would be available and open to students in other academic majors as well. And in fact, we really welcome that on our programs. We want to be able to facilitate that interdisciplinary learning for our students as well. So that question, there are opportunities across the board more broadly, even if programs are managed by a specific unit or office here at the university. And then again, of course, some flexibility in terms of thinking about academic programming that may be not on the approved list to date. For first-year students, and there's one question here specific to engineering students, the +3 program is the recommended program for a first-year student that's interested in having an early global experience. And so that program is open to engineering students, and applications are live for that now. I believe the application deadline for that program is in early December, and so something to certainly consider applying for if that is of interest. Those programs, currently we have first year program opportunities for students in the Dietrich School and College of General Studies, Swanson School of Engineering, College of Business Administration, School of Nursing, and then a few of our regional campus partners, School of Education, and School of Nursing as well. I would say in general, about financial aid, and there's a question here about FAFSA and maybe more specific aid. It certainly does not hurt chances in terms of scholarships, which are governed by the university. Whether or not a student has filled out FAFSA, I mean, every student has an opportunity to apply for the Global Experiences Office scholarships, for example. So there's certainly no requirement there. We do look at both, merit and need when making determination awards, and many scholarships are the same. Pitt Funds Me, which is where students would apply for scholarships, would detail those types of requirements and things like that. We also have a finances tab on our website. I'll drop a few of these links here as we round out the webinar, and there's also a page at the end of my slideshow that has links to additional resources where you can see that information with sort of detail what the requirements and expectations for each of the scholarships funds would be. But no, those scholarships are available and open to any students who apply for and would have sort of equal opportunity in terms of review for those awards. Question here about our Maymester abroad programs. We do love our acronyms and fun names here. So a Maymester program is a summer program that takes place during the month of May. That is a very popular time for a lot of our students to have a global experience. For some of the reasons I've stated before, it would allow them to wrap up the program within the month of May. For a lot of students that are doing internships or clinical placements or wanting to take summer to courses, that allows them to have that flexibility to do that. And so we do offer a number of options that take place in the month of May. And students can search on our website for programs using that term Maymester, and that'll pull up some of those different opportunities. The application for the +3 program I was just talking about for first year students, you are actually as a student applying for the program in general, and then you are able to rank within that application the sites that you're interested in. So it's just one application for the program, and then you can indicate interest in your top 3 kind of locations within or sites within that program, if that answers your question there. So just a couple questions here about credits, and then I'm going to pause because I want to get through the rest of my time, and I'm sure we'll have a couple more questions here before the end. So I have a question here about application deadline, in particular for spring break programs. Our deadline for spring break was yesterday. If someone is interested and hasn't been able to complete their program, I would have the student reach out directly to the program manager that's listed on the program page. It's possible to do a short extension depending on the program and things of that nature. And so certainly doesn't hurt to ask. So I would recommend that if a student is interested in doing that and maybe didn't have a chance to complete their application, to reach out and see if there's any way that deadline could be extended for a few days. So I hope that helps. In terms of programs specifying particular academic area, generally the way that our programs are sort of listed and captured on our site are by thematic area. So it may be something like language and culture or global health, so on and so forth. And then once you get to each individual specific program page, it will detail how those requirements can be fulfilled. It is possible that courses can be fulfilling multiple types of requirements, and again, that's where students will work directly with their academic advisors, and we also help facilitate those conversations to determine how each course that they are taking may fulfill requirements. So it's quite possible, for example, for a course on a global experiences program that's listed as an urban studies course could also fulfill one of the general education requirements that would fall outside of urban studies. So it is possible for courses to fulfill multiple types of academic requirements, for sure. All right, I think I got through a lot of these, more generally speaking. I'm going to move on to the last part of our presentation, and then we'll return to questions at that point in time. So hold your questions. If I didn't get to you, I will certainly do that. And thank you so much for the engagement. I really appreciate the opportunity to answer these questions for you all. All right, back to our slideshow here. All right, whoops, here we go, too fast. Preparing to support your student as we think about the programs. So I talked a lot about our sort of advising process and sort of encouraging students to come to us either through general advising or scheduling appointments with our advising teams, and that's a great first start. I wanted to talk briefly about a few elements in terms of support. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I don't know why my computer's being so touchy right now, related to preparations beyond the academic advising piece. And so I wanted to take a few moments to talk about health, safety, and security abroad, how we advise and prepare students for things like this, and how you can help support in the preparation process for your student. So even beyond the academic experience, safety is the Global Experiences Office #1 priority. We work really hard to work with trusted partners abroad to vet and approve our programs that meet very specific requirements at the university level, to provide these wonderful learning experiences for students in an environment that is safe for them to learn. And some of the ways that we do that, of course, I want to acknowledge the fact that there is inherent risk in international travel. We do our best to mitigate this risk and support our students and our university population abroad by a number of different things. And this includes working with trusted partners and providers overseas, keeping strict standards for things like housing, and doing site visits to ensure that those standards are being met, program audits both academically and for health, safety, and security, training our faculty and staff in best practices abroad. So every faculty or staff member that's accompanying students abroad has to attend mandatory training about best practices for health, safety, and security prior to their program departing. We also similarly prepare students in program orientation activities in the same manner, keeping abreast of world news and political situations on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis, monitoring State Department advisories, alerts, and warnings, among other resources that we have at our disposal here at the university level. We also maintain a 24/7, 365 emergency line that students and families can call into in the event of emergency situations, and that's monitored around the clock. So those are just some examples of the work that we do in this space. I will also mention, in addition to my office, there is an entire university structure that is designed to support student health, safety, and security abroad, in addition to other university activities. And that is the Global Risk Health, Safety, and Security Committee. This is a provost level committee that's appointed to assist the university in reviewing and discussing pressing global matters that impact university business abroad. That includes the approval of global program proposals. So every one of our programs that we offer has been approved by this committee and has met the standards for risk assessment, health, safety, and security abroad. This really is infused in our program development process as well, where we work directly with our faculty on considering any and all activities that are being proposed as part of a program in terms of that risk management lens, and really ensuring that we are crafting these programs in a way that provide good learning opportunities in a safe learning environment. In addition, students are provided with international health insurance and a lot of additional support while they are on their programs. So students receive international health insurance coverage for the duration of their program dates. These services include things like doctor and hospital visits for physical and mental health needs, care for emergent health issues that may occur while abroad, and then things like medically required evacuation or repatriation, if that would ever be needed. Our duty of care provider provides access to the medical and health insurance and facilitates appointment scheduling and things of that nature, but also provides travel, safety, and security advice and the 24/7 health and safety line. And they're in direct contact with me through that line as well. And then I'll leave us with one final takeaway, and then I'll get back to questions. But one thing that I hear when I speak with parents is, how can I help my student in preparing for this? And so number one is talk to your student. the Global Experiences Office shares a lot of information directly with students, and we encourage them to share that information with you. They are going to be the best resource of all of that information as it, as we progress through the timeline, as those things happen. And that is the first and foremost recommendation that I would have for parents and families that are looking to support. You're also welcome to review any and all information that's on our website. I will, like I said, drop in chat here or share with you all the link directly. This has information on a program specific level. So a lot of the questions that I was answering before about program specifics, each individual program page will detail that in much greater amount of detail to read and review and understand. And again, that includes things like academic requirements that are fulfilled, what's included in program costs versus what is not, and sort of those types of things that'll be on that program specific level. But on a more global level, we'll have a lot of great resources here about preparation for a global experience that will include things like, what do I need to know before I go in terms of my health? Should I meet with my regular doctor before I travel? What does that look like? And so there's a lot of really great information and resources on our site that I would highly recommend as parents and friends and family that are looking to support a student in doing this, to take a look at and to review. The last slide I have here, first thing is a link directly to the Global Experiences website. There you will see tabs that are about programs. There's also a tab about finances. And so for those of you that were asking some questions about financial aid and scholarships and all of those things, there's a lot of information there. There's also information on budgeting for programs and things of that nature within that financial tab. And then there is a lot of information again around health, safety, security, wellness, and sort of preparing in that manner for a global experience. It's all really good information to review and to be aware of. And then I've also shared some additional information for you here that is, sort of more, high level in terms of preparation. And so both the State Department provides specific and dedicated resources for students studying abroad. That's a really helpful page to take a look at some of those recommendations, and then so does to the CDC, more from the perspective of traveler health. And so I linked those there as well as good resources to take a look at. All right. And so that is the end of my formal presentation. I'm checking here. We have about 10 minutes left, so I'm really happy to answer more of your questions. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull up any additional questions that we may have had. But if anyone has to hop off, please feel free to do that. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure getting to speak with you and present to you, and certainly happy to, let me pop up this slide just in case you wanted to look at any of those references here. And I will go ahead now and start answering some of the other questions that have popped up. All right. So I have a couple more questions related to the academic components of the program. One question here is specifically asking if students need to have declared a major in order to do a global experiences program, and the answer is no. We have a lot of students that are early in their academic career that are unsure, have not formally declared a major yet. A lot of our programs offer the opportunity to fulfill general education requirements, so those are much more broadly applicable regardless of academic major or background. And so, short answer is no. Certainly, we have a lot of students that seek to do these types of experiences early in their academic career before they get into, a formally declared major. But there are also, of course, opportunities to fulfill major, minor, and certificate specific requirements as well. And so it's really dependent on where the student is in their academic career and what they're looking to do. My first question to a student is always, what do you want to accomplish on your program? And that can sort of help us figure out, is now the right time? Do we want to wait a little while? Is it really interesting for you to be thinking about your political science major, or would you rather think about this in the context of your geology major when you're thinking about, opportunities, or is it a blend of both? And where can we find the best fit for you based on those kind of desires or requirements? And so, so yeah, at any point in the academic career that is possible, and they do not have to have a declared major to be involved in a global experience. Some of them, there are some programs that are designed to be sort of capstone in nature, and those are typically for students that are further along in their academic career. And in that case, they would have, gone through and sort of declared their major and be working towards that ultimate goal. But for a lot of our programs, there are a lot of general education and broad requirements that can be fulfilled on the programs. Couple other questions about the first year programs, which is fantastic. I think these are such wonderful opportunities for students to try out a global experience and see if it's something that they may even be interested in pursuing, for a longer amount of time later in their academic career. And that is a question that we get a lot, is it possible for a student to do more than one global experience? Absolutely, yes. We love to help students, do that if that's something that they're desiring to do. And those first year programs are available for current students. And so if you are a prospective family, that would be available for your students the May after their first full year at the University of Pittsburgh as a University of Pittsburgh student. So they're not pre sort of enrollment programs, they're for current students as they are right now. For any additional questions that I don't get to today, I just wanted to make sure you all were aware. I have our email address here, globalexperiences@pitt.edu. Please feel free to reach out to that box. It is monitored by a number of our staff, and we will make sure that your request gets to the appropriate individual that can answer your question. So please don't hesitate to reach out that way. We're happy to connect and answer questions. I will say, when in doubt, always send the students directly to us. We're here to meet with students. We, again, have walk-in advising. We have, advising appointments that are available, and we really want to see the students and talk directly to them. So if you are talking to, your son or daughter and they're interested in, summer programming, for example, please, recommend that they reach out directly to us either via this email or on our website. We have contact information and information on how to schedule appointments with the different offices that we have. So please do, recommend that is part of the process for the students that are interested in these programs. I have a couple questions here about things like housing and, let's say a student here is living on campus in the fall semester and wants to study abroad in the spring semester. For students that are living on campus, we do work with the university for housing waivers so that students are able to, be released from that to be able to do study abroad. So that's something that our office will work directly with the university on. For students that are off campus, unfortunately, we don't have the same sort of level of involvement that we do with campus-based resources. So that one is really sort of at the discretion of the individual students. But for campus-based housing, we do have a housing waiver for students to be able to do that study abroad experience. All right. Let me just scroll through really quickly here and see what else I have. I think I pretty much have answered everything, at least generally. So last call for questions here. If I didn't get to your question and you want to drop it in the chat again, you're very welcome to do that. Again, any specific questions that I didn't get to, please do feel free to reach out at our email address or, encourage your son or daughter to come meet with us, and we're very happy to meet and discuss in greater detail. A lot of questions I know were around financial aid and scholarships. Again, general advice you can find on the Global Experiences website. And in terms of specific aid packages, we direct students directly to financial aid to kind of help walk through what that would look like. So I would absolutely recommend that students do that. We have some wonderful colleagues in that office that are here to help students understand how their aid would be applied to programs. So highly recommend that as a next step if anyone has specific questions about that. All right, any other questions? Please feel free to share. Thank you again for joining me today. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to all of you and look forward to working with all of our wonderful Pitt students on global experiences.
Hillary, thank you so much. You got through so much information.
I hope it wasn't too much.
No, it was wonderful. This recording will be on the Student Affairs YouTube page, hopefully sometime next week. with family weekend starting Friday, it will not be up this week. I know that, but we will get the recording up on that YouTube page. And thank you again so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. And thank you, Summer, for organizing this.
Of course. Have a good day.